Hey everybody. Welcome back to Real Talk Recovery, everyone, where we talk about recovery from addiction and I share my life with you. My name is Nicole and I'm a person in long-term recovery. My sobriety date is July 13th of 2015. And that's right. I just celebrated 6 years sober. Hey, Candace. Tonight we're going to have a special guest speaker coming on. Catherine is going to come share her experience, strength, and hope. I'm super excited to have her on. I know she's in an NA meeting right now, so she should be out in a couple minutes. And then we will bring her on. Oh, she's already live. Okay, good. Okay, so do me a favor, you guys. Share this video. Invite your friends. Share it everywhere you can share it. So that way we'll have people coming in that need to see it. And so, yeah, I'm going to send her an invite now and we'll get started. Cool. Coolie. Hey, girl, what's up?
Nothing. What's up? How are you?
I'm good. I'm excited to have you on. I was
Thank
just going through, I was just ranting back and forth with this person on my account. And it's like,
you.
sometimes it's so hard. I like ignore these negative comments all the time. But when somebody
Yeah,
comes on and they are saying stuff like, all you do is glorify addiction, that makes me so angry because, like, yeah, I tell
me
story
too.
times about my active addiction because it's a story time. But like
Right.
90% of my content is like recovery content. And so, anyway,
Literally.
it drives
That
me
happened to
insane,
me.
you know?
Yeah, remember when that lady made like 5 videos about me and like was saying like all this stuff
Yeah,
because I made a video because somebody asked me a question what the word works meant and I said it. I was like trying to educate like what goes on in like my city because it's bad.
right.
And yeah, always people saying that. It's crazy.
A lot of the times I think it's people that wish they could do what we're doing. And because see,
I
here's the
think
thing.
so.
When I first got sober, I got sober through the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous. And I was taught in those programs that I shouldn't share about what happened when I was in my addiction. And so I
Right.
felt ashamed to share about my addiction. Like it was almost like people would say it was war stories or whatever, and it's not. It's just me
Yeah.
sharing my experience. And so once I
Right.
started getting away from that fellowship, I started like doing my own thing and like sharing my stories. And I think what happens is those people are like stuck in that fellowship or stuck in that mindset that they can't share the truth because it's shameful. You know what I mean?
Right.
But
Yeah,
anyway,
definitely.
I really appreciate you for coming on tonight. So this is what I
Yeah.
want you to do. Share with us,
Okay.
let us know what your name is. I know your name, but they might not know what your name is, how
Okay.
long you've been sober, and then take us through your childhood. Let us know what it was like when you were growing up.
Okay. So my name's Catherine. I've been sober consecutively for a little over 9 months now. My childhood it was a really normal, good childhood, pretty much at first. I grew up in the suburbs of Philly, moved out to the suburbs when I was like 1, so that's really all I knew. My parents are still together. They were always together. I like had friends. Like it was like I was a good kid. Like I really like was really close with my parents. I never was like lying. I was really honest with them and we had like a really honest relationship, which I think is like kind of why like I ended up getting so like out of control because I never was like disciplined really. Like it was like we were so honest that I was like, I mean, like fast forward when I got to high school and I'm like, okay, we're drinking. They're like, okay, well, at least you're being honest with me, like stuff like that. So I
Mm-hmm.
kind of never had any like repercussions. But so I always had like mental health issues, like from when I was young. Like I had really bad OCD. I had really bad anxiety, like crippling anxiety to the point where like I would miss school because I didn't want to go, all that stuff. And like my mom would like let me stay home probably too much. So I kind of got like comfortable just being like with my anxiety and all that stuff. But really, like, when things started to go bad was when I was 14. I had an eating disorder. I had anorexia. It was really, really bad. I almost died. I went on for like 4 years to struggle with this eating disorder. I was supposed to go to inpatient. I was really manipulative. I wouldn't go. That was when I was around like 16, and I had them like just
Why did you have
oh,
an
sorry.
eating disorder? Like, what happened that made, like, did you just feel like you were ugly, or did you feel like you were fat, or did you struggle with your weight? Were you chunky when you were little?
No, I've always been like really small. But it just started with like me. I wanted to lose like a little bit of weight in like my thighs. That was what I wanted to lose. And then I got obsessed with it. It wasn't even really, I was just like, how much weight can I lose? Like more and more and more
Yeah.
and all that, like, kind of thing. Like, it was more of like the compulsion, really. But so when I was 16, it was really bad. My doctor stopped treating me. Like, it was really bad. And my mom never drank my whole life. She just never drank, and she always said she didn't like it, and she got headaches. And when I was 16, one day I woke up. I had this eating disorder. It was really bad. And my mom was hammered, like fucked up, and my dad was like crying in the kitchen. And I was like, what is going on? And like, I literally was like, oh my God, like, is that why mom doesn't drink? Like, is she like an alcoholic? And my dad was like, yeah. And I had no idea. They never talked to me about it as a kid, but I remember like when I was really little, like going to like things with like groups of her friends, and it was AA, and I didn't know. I really didn't know. And then she stopped going when I was like really young, but she'd been sober for like, at this point, I think she got sober when I was 3, but I didn't remember. So then she had relapsed after 13 years of being sober.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, so that happened, and that was bad. That it was me with the eating disorder. She was drinking. She was not like a functional addict, like, at all. And so like, yeah, that just happened, and that really kind of is when I like, because I really kind of feel like it was just so like she didn't know what to do, like, because of me. Like, they, like, the doctors were telling her that like I was gonna die, all this stuff. And like, I know you can't blame anybody else, but it was a lot of stress on her. And
Well,
she
yeah.
kind of was like
She felt like
not
you didn't know how to
like,
cope with that. You know what I mean?
yeah, that's what it really was. But then, so at that point, I kind of started, and that was around the time I started drinking also, like just being a high schooler at 16, and all my friends and, you know, my parents, like, I was open and honest with them. My mom would be on and off. She would go to rehab, then she would, you know, relapse. Like, just this went on for a couple years. But so I got put in an outpatient program when I was 17 for the eating disorder, and I ended up gaining just enough weight where like I could, you know, not have to go to inpatient. Like, things were kind of okay, but I was drinking so much at this point. I wasn't really eating, but I was drinking so much that like I was drinking like every weekend for sure with my friends. But even like during the week, sometimes we would, like, I was always the one who was like over the top. Like, I got alcohol poisoning 3 times. Like, I was the one like in the group who like never knew when it was enough. Like, I would like take it to the extreme.
Yeah.
And then I got a prescription for Adderall because I thought that, you know, I had gained a little bit of weight from this outpatient program. I got done with the outpatient program, and then I was like, I'm going to get Adderall. There was a doctor that you paid cash, you know, just
Yep.
filled out a little questionnaire, and I got the Adderall when I was 17. And I just started doing it, you know, like, and it wasn't even about being skinny anymore. It was more just like doing Adderall.
Yeah.
And I just like always kind of had like a fascination with like just like getting out of my head, like like anything, like drugs, drinking, like, you know. And especially like with my mom, I was like, yeah, like, she's doing this to cope, like, I'm doing it to cope. And then I was like, well, you know, people use drugs to cope, and I'm like, I wonder what they feel like. And like, I was already doing the Adderall because I had the prescription, but I you know, I was just like, it wasn't like an all the time thing. I was on like a way too high dose. I don't have ADHD, like nothing like that, but like I wasn't like, you know, at first it didn't like spiral right from then.
Right.
Yeah,
It
so
probably I did the same thing. I obtained a prescription for uh phentermine when I was like 14 or 15. And but
mhm.
I took all the prescription and I only got like 2 months worth of it, and then it was gone, and I was like, whatever, you know?
Yeah, see, I didn't do it. Like, I honestly took it every day, but this doctor just gave so much that it was like an extremely high dose, and I didn't need it. It was just, you paid her $200 and it was whatever. But then I remember we were down the shore or at the beach or whatever, because we say that out in my way, but down the beach. So my mom was drinking at this time bad, and I had gone to the beach with my family and like my cousins and my best friend at the time, and she was like a responsible kid. And you know, my mom was drinking, and I was like, damn, this is embarrassing. I'm gonna one up my mom, because I know she has Ativan in the medicine cabinet. So I go, I've never taken any benzos before, nothing, but I'm thinking about it. I'm just like I'm like watching stuff about drugs. Like I just like am having this like fascination with it at this point. And I take 3 of them, like
Oh,
just
wow.
first time. I'm like, whatever. And then I fall asleep on the beach. I'm like shivering. My mom gets mad at me. She takes me back to the house. Nobody knows what the fuck is wrong with me. And my mom's like, what happened? And I tell her, and then she's like, are you kidding me? And I'm like, what are you gonna do? Like, look at you. So then we never said anything about it ever again. And you know, that was basically my childhood. Was very, I stopped caring at like 16, 17, and then I kind of just wanted to just do whatever, and I felt like I didn't have to like I didn't have to like tell anybody anymore. Like I didn't have to be trustworthy with my parents anymore, because my mom wasn't with me. You know what I mean? So that's kind of how that went, and that's kind of what started everything.
So they never gave you any consequences for your actions. You never got in trouble. You never got grounded or nothing like that.
No, literally. And because so I got alcohol poisoning 3 times. I remember like they had to come get me 2 of those times. Like the other time I was in a different state. It was bad, but I like they just, you know, sat me down, and I was like, I'm sorry, like it was an accident, like I promise. I was also really manipulative. I had learned how to be manipulative with the eating disorder. And you know, I was just like, well, at least I told you I was drinking. Like, I don't know what happened. Like, you know, and my mom was drinking at this time too. So I'm like,
Right.
I don't like, and
So
my
you were
dad
like,
really, he didn't know what
make
to
you feel
do.
entitled to that probably because, well, if mom's doing it, why can't I do it? You know what I mean? If mom's
Right.
fucking
He
up,
did
then
not know what to do, my dad.
yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
How did you? Okay. So how did you get into heroin? How the fuck did you end up in Kensington on the damn? On That's just so crazy to me because I see that
Yeah.
I watched this guy's YouTube channel called Mal, and I
Mm-hmm.
see it's disgusting out there. Like I don't
Yeah.
understand how that. First of all, what I don't understand is how the government, the cops, the mayor, whoever of that city doesn't do anything about that.
Yup. They do one thing once a week. They go around with like this like paddy wagon. They call it like task force or like strike force, something like that. And they go around, and that's the day it's like the hardest to get shit, because people are in and out, and like the blocks. And then they just, you know, if they see one going down, they'll, you know, wrap up everybody, all the addicts mostly, because you know all the dealers have like, you know, people watching all
Yeah.
that stuff, so they have spots to throw it, whatever. But they'll round up basically just all the addicts, put them in jail for 24 hours, and then ROR them, because the Philly jails, they don't have room for addicts. Like, you know, they got way more serious shit to be dealing with. So at least just for getting like a strike force thing in Kensington. So it's crazy. And then they let them right back out. And where do you think they go? Right back. Like it just
Right.
never stops. It's crazy. But yeah, so how I got into all of that from just me being like, you know, how I said. So I was working like this whole time at like a little pizza shop, right, in my town. So basically the owner of that pizza shop he was like like 40, but he was like cool. I mean, it might have been a little creepy, like if I think back on it, but he was like cool. So, but you know, he would like let us like drink and smoke and shit. We were smoking weed there, like all that stuff. Like me and my friends, because me and a couple of my guy friends from high school, like the first, like kind of like I had like kind of like a boyfriend thing, but you know, not like high school bullshit. So we're at this pizza shop and we're working, and then all of a sudden, the owner's little cousin starts working there. He's not like he's 23. And he's all like tatted up, and I just think he is so hot. Like I'm like, oh my God, like, and I'm 18 at this point, but I'm still in high school. So, and I'm like being crazy because I'm never home because my dad doesn't even know what to say. Like I'm going out with my friends and it's a school night, and he's like, what? And I'm like, well, I don't want to come home because mom. And he's like, okay, like he had no idea what to do. So he was like trying his best, but he had no idea what to do. So long story short, I start talking to the owner's cousin, and me and him start dating, and he doesn't realize that I'm in high school. He thought I was in college, but he's 23. He lives on his own, like all this stuff. And then we start dating, and we're, you know, he's an addict, and I don't know this, but you know, he was looking back on it, like we hung out, like the first night we hang out, I never left that apartment. Like I stayed there every single night for the next 2.5 years. Like it was like, you know, what addicts do. And I was just, you know, drinking and smoking at that time, and the Adderall. So yeah, I mean, I was just like, so I had the eating disorder still. I was better, but I still had it. And I was like, just the validation from somebody that like this older dude that I thought was like so cute, and I was just like, I was in love, right? So, and then I remember like 2 nights, it was like maybe the second night, he asked me if I wanted a Percocet, and I was like, what is that? I literally didn't know what it was by the name of it. And he was like, oh, it's like a pain pill. And I remember like in school learning about stuff, I'm like, oh, like whatever. And I'm like, no, like I don't, because I didn't really understand what it was. Like I just was like, why the fuck would you take that? Like I didn't realize it would get you high. I don't know why I didn't realize that, because he was like buying them, but I didn't realize that. So then the weekend comes, and his friend comes down from the beach, who he lives down the beach, and they're snorting them on the counter, and I'm like, yo, like I want to do this shit.
Oh, you mean the Roxy 30s, not Percocets, right? Roxy?
Yeah, we called them Perk 30s, but no, they're Roxy 30s. Yes. Okay. Sorry, that's in our town. We always just said perks. So that's why I said that. Yeah, real Roxy 30s.
Okay.
Real, yeah, legit Roxy 30s. So they're snorting them, and I'm like, oh shit, they're snorting them? Like, I want to do this. Like, why did I think that? I don't know. But because I was just like always fascinated.
They're doing it, and it looks cool, and you think, oh, they're having fun. If they're doing it, I want to try it. I mean, I was the same way. I was the same way.
Yeah, I was like, I want to try like whatever. I've even like, I was like watching documentaries about like Kurt and Courtney, like all that stuff. I was like, oh, like, and I remember thinking like, oh, like I wonder what heroin feels like, all this stuff, not realizing like that this was like an opiate, you know, any of this. So I snort. He must have gave me the tiniest little bit ever, because I snorted it, and then we went out to the bars. Like I had a fake ID, and it was like, I was fine, and I was like, oh, that's cool, but I really don't remember it doing that much to me. I really don't. He must have given me like specs or something, because then the following night he went to get more at this dealer's house, and this dealer was doing them mixed with Coke. So then I was like, I want to try Coke. So this is like the week of like me doing like whatever fucking drugs I can get my hands on, literally. So then I do this like speedball, go out to the bars, and I'm like, I feel like, I don't even know. I felt good. But the real time I remember like feeling the 30 was probably like, I felt it, but I was drinking and I just felt good. It was like a mix. It was a speedball. So like, you know, perks or Roxy's and Coke. So yeah, like we went down the shore again. We were always, I don't know why we kept going down the shore, because it was like the only thing I could do, really, because I mean I was getting caught with my fake ID, so the first one got taken away. So we decided we would go to Atlantic City and stay at a hotel and just get alcohol and bring it back to the room. This was actually after my senior prom, because my friends were not trying to be friends with me anymore because they thought that I was just like wild, because I was living in this other town with this dude, coming to school like late as fuck, sometimes sleeping too late, like missing it, like I was drinking every night, like all this stuff. So my friends were like kind of like, this is too much. So we go down the shore, because he didn't go to my prom with me, he wouldn't go, so I went with my friend, but like I stayed for like as long as you could say. I didn't go to the after thing. Like I just bounced and went right down the shore with my boyfriend. And he brought a lot of Roxy's this time. And I remember we were snorting them. Like he said he would drive without a license. And my car that my parents got me. And we were snorting them on the dashboard, and I was so wrecked. Like I threw up the entire night. Like that's when it was like legit.
Yeah.
Like that was when it was enough to like get me like to feel it. But from then on, I was like that, like that feeling I had like never felt before. Like even though I threw up, like I did them the next day, like all like, and I was attracted to it for sure. So, you know, that kind of happened. That's how I got started. And we were together for 2 years. And in that time, I didn't realize he was an addict until, you know, money started to go missing, because I was only doing them on the weekends, because that's when he would get them. So I thought he was getting them every day. We were working together, but we didn't make a lot of money there or anything. I started bartending. And I started making a little bit more money, and then like money would go missing out of my wallet, you know, just stuff like that. And like we would argue, and he would just make up an excuse, and I would believe it, you know. And then I eventually realized that he was an addict, but he would still never barely give them to me except on the weekends. Like I literally only was allowed to do them on the weekends, because he would say he doesn't have enough, like nothing. I would get extra on the weekends, but he never let me do them every day. Which right. is like kind of weird, because a lot of relationships, like they're like, oh, do them so you can get addicted with me. But he
was holding out on you. He was selfish as fuck. That's all. He didn't want.
That is true too. No, that is true for sure. That's true. No, that's true too. Because I would like ask, and he'd be like, "Oh, sure," and then it would be gone before I did it. That is true.
Yeah.
But so we end up in this relationship. I'm just like doing these things on the weekends, but I'm not like, you know, I'm not in it like that yet. And we get an apartment, we get evicted from the apartment, my car gets repoed twice. All of this happens before I'm like an everyday user, which should have been some red flags. All of it's in my name, my credit, all this stuff. Then we get another apartment, and that one's going okay. But at that point in our relationship, I was so miserable, because he just like stopped like hanging out with me. He would like go out and sit in the car and get high and watch videos and fall asleep. And I'm like, why the fuck am I even with you? Like, I don't want this apartment to sit by myself. So I end up staying, like we're still together, but I end up staying with my parents for like a few months, and I start hiding money there, like from work. Like I would like get money at work, because we would, you know, get cash at the end of the night, and I would like put like 2/3 of it in my parents' house, and whenever I would see him, I would only have whatever is left. I'm like, yeah, this is all I made. Like, I'll give it to you, but this is all I made, like stuff like that. So I was hiding money. So, you know, all that was going on. I stayed at my parents' house probably again for like maybe 3 or 4 months, and I'm bartending at this time. I'm like bartending every weekend. I have like the same job that I have now. Like I'm like really like working there like a lot. And this other kid who works there, not kid, he's 10 years older than me, but my boyfriend now. So he's working there too with me. And we worked there together for like the whole time. And I would just like drive him home. I swear to God, people always think, but I swear to God, like we never, like nothing. Like I really just drove him home. But like I thought he was cute and stuff, but like I'm not, like I was like, I'm not a cheater. And he was in a relationship too. Like it wasn't like that. But at this time, like I'm living with my parents, and on the ride home, I'm like telling him like how much of a piece of shit like my boyfriend at the time is. And I'm like, yeah, like fuck this, like all this stuff. And, you know, him and his girlfriend, I guess, are having issues. He's an addict too. Then I wasn't. Like, I knew he was an addict, but I thought he was an addict like me, like did perks. Like, I thought, or Roxy's, I always say perks. But, you know, like I thought, because he used to, but like I didn't know he did dope. So anyway, so we're like, you know, driving home, and the one night he starts like, you know, telling me that like I'm pretty and like all this stuff, and I'm like, damn, he's really hot. And then I'm like, I hate my ex. I'm like, well, not my ex. I was like, I hate my boyfriend at the time. Like, I'm literally not even staying with him. I was like, I'm gonna break up with him because I'm so codependent that I only could break up with somebody when I knew he was into me at this point, because he's like basically telling me, and I'm like, okay. So I break up with my boyfriend on a Friday, and then on Saturday, me and my current boyfriend are hooking up, you know, whatever, because I'm codependent.
I totally understand. I was very codependent too, and I would shift from one relationship to the next relationship, and it was because I didn't want to be by myself, because I couldn't.
Yeah.
When I was by myself, I couldn't stand it, you know, when it was because I didn't love myself and I was depressed
Exactly.
and I was hurting, and having a guy to like validate me and make me feel beautiful, even if he was a piece of shit that I had to pay for all his shit, and because I literally took care of this dude for like 6 years, and I was like so happy doing it because I was so miserable with myself, you know?
Yeah. No, absolutely. That was me too. So anyway, so I move in with my best friend at this point. She is an addict, but in recovery, kind of. Like, she's been clean, but she wasn't on maintenance. She didn't like work a program, anything. She was a chronic relapser, but she's my best friend from work at this point. And she breaks up with her boyfriend too. So I start staying with her because I didn't like move right in with this dude, because, you know, he ended his relationship too, and it was just like whatever. So, but we're hanging out every single day, but I'm like technically living with my friend, because at this point he's living with his friend, but I'm like staying there at night, but I'm with my friend, and we're like on a bender. She starts doing dope again because she broke up with her boyfriend. I'm doing perks every single day because I now have this money that I put aside that had stacked up, and now I'm good. Like, I have money. They weren't making me pay rent at her apartment. We probably only stayed together before she went to rehab for probably like 3 weeks, but they weren't even going to make me pay rent, like nothing. But yeah, so she ends up going to rehab in Florida, and then she has this lease because her parents find out she's getting high. They freak out, and then they send her to Florida. So she has this lease, and I'm like, I'll take the lease because the dude that I'm hanging out with is staying with his friend that lives down the street. And I'm like, oh, he'll just stay with me, you know? So I'm like, I'll take over the lease. And they're like, okay. So that's what I did. And then he came and started to stay with me. And, you know, he was an everyday heroin user, like Ivy at this point. He's 10 years older than me. So I was 20, he was 30, or at this point. Yeah. And, he snorted it for like 8 years or something, and then at this point he's like just starting to use Ivy, and I'm doing perks every single day. So, you know, all this stuff happens. He gets arrested. We both get arrested. Our house gets raided. This apartment that I'm staying in gets raided. We both get arrested. He gets all the charges, and they let me go, and then I bail him out like 2 weeks later when I get enough money, and I bail him out. And then, you know, he comes home. Oh, this is a whole nother thing. So my ex, the one that, you know, he made me feel bad because I got evicted from that apartment after we broke up. We got evicted. Well, I didn't care because I wasn't living there, but it was my name. But he got kicked out. He was homeless, getting high, perks, and then Roxy's. I was doing the Roxy's, and my boyfriend is now in jail for 2 weeks. I'm walking to work, and because my car has also, right before we got arrested, my car got impounded. We got pulled over, and my car got impounded because I didn't have, you know, anything, registration, inspection, insurance, none of it. So I'm walking to work, and I run into my ex, and my boyfriend has this like really high bail at this time, but they were doing like I guess they did like a hearing or whatever, and they lowered it, right? So like a preliminary hearing, whatever, they lowered it. So then but I still need, I think it was like $5,000 to get him out, and I didn't have it. But the bail bonds place, because I had this horrible credit, they were like, you need co-signers. So I get this regular at the bar to co-sign, and I need one more. And I'm like, and I run into my ex, and my ex is like, I need a place to stay. And I'm like, if you sign this paper, I'll let you stay with us. So that happened.
Damn.
Yeah. So that was a mess. So then the three of us, he gets out of jail. He's like, are you fucking kidding me? I'm like, well, you would still be in jail. So we're staying together at this point. My boyfriend tries to stay clean, but he relapses because my ex and I are both doing perks, obviously. So yeah.
And so that's like, did you get on the heroin? Did the boyfriend introduce you to it, or did you get curious?
No. So that's okay. Yeah. So this is the part. So my ex ends up my boyfriend kicks him out. They get in a legit fight. My boyfriend's like, get the fuck out of here, like whatever. So he kicks him out, and then we go on for like another probably like few months. Where I'm like begging him to do dope every day. I'm like, yo, let me do some. Like, I'm spending so much money on these perks. I'm doing them every day, all this stuff. And
Did it freeze up, you guys? Hold on. Hold on, let me send her. Hold on, let me send her another. Oh, it'll go. Hold on just a second, you guys. I'm like, just getting into the story, damn it. She'll be back. Isn't it crazy the things that we do when we're in our active addiction, you guys? How we like talk people into doing stuff for us. Like she literally talked her ex into signing a sheet for her so she could get her other boyfriend out. Ah! That's crazy. Okay, hold on. I think she probably froze up and doesn't even realize it. I was pretty crazy, but I don't think I ever did that. I never had my exes together in the same room. They would have fought each other. I'm so glad that you guys are all here. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Hey, here she comes. You there? You there, girl? I don't know if it's her connection. Catherine, can you hear us, girl? TikTok's playing with us today, y'all. Hold on, I'm gonna have to send her an invite. Don't worry, y'all. We'll hook back up. Damn, I didn't realize how shiny my hair looks today, you guys. So she's fixing to share with us how she got introduced to heroin, and then we'll get to hear about her crazy butt staying on Kensington, which that place is crazy, y'all. That place is crazy. Oh, here she comes. Yay!
I literally don't have a
story.
I know it's little, and I was still on live, but that was so weird. It's not like mine. Like, God, I don't know what happened. That was so weird. Anyway, so what was I saying? Oh yeah, so I'm begging my boyfriend to do dope, and he's like, no, I'm gonna leave you. No, it's not happening. But we have like a bunch of friends who are doing dope too. But my boyfriend's just like, he's like, I will break up with you. You'll never see me again. It's not happening. You're not doing dope. I don't want you to do it. Cause like, I know like with ex, but my boyfriend is different than my ex. Like he's like actually like a decent guy. Like as weird as that sounds, like with him,
I get
it. He really wasn't like, he really wasn't like a fiend or anything like at all. Like he was just very like, he always like really like controlled himself with it. Like he was just doing it because he had been addicted to it, but he really wasn't like, I don't know. He was just very like protective. He never wanted me to do it. He really never wanted me to do it. He didn't even like that I did perks or Roxy's, keep saying perks, anything like that. But so my boyfriend decides to go to rehab at this point one night, and we have all these friends that are like doing this. It's this like heroin and fentanyl mix, right? And I'm like trying to do this shit. Like I am begging every single day, and my boyfriend's like, no, no, no. So my boyfriend goes to rehab one night, and I'm with our friends, and I give one of our friends money, and I'm like, let me do some. And he's like, okay, like we're all hanging out, and my boyfriend goes to rehab for the night, and I'm like, okay, I'll do some. My boyfriend calls me at like midnight that night, freaking out because they gave him a sub and he's in precipitated withdrawal. So he's like, I'm leaving. Like, I literally can't do this. I'll try again, but I can't be here. So he leaves and he comes home, and I have done dope. He is completely out of it. He is like totally not in his right mind. And I'm like, I did dope. He's like, well, I need dope because I need to just do a bunch of dope. And so then we end up doing dope together like the rest of the night. And he's so like, just like, so like, just like not like, just so like fucked up, like just from like, it was horrible. Like that was like, seeing somebody in that shit, it's horrible, the precipitated withdrawal. Like I never went in it myself, but oh my God. So anyway, so then that started it, and then, you know, the next day I'm like, well, I already did it, so what, you're gonna have me do perks again? Like I'm okay. So then that's what kind of started it, and that's how I started doing heroin literally every single day.
How long have you and your boyfriend been together?
3.5 years.
So y'all were out there. Okay, so it probably eventually got worse and worse and worse, and y'all's habit got more and more expensive. So y'all ended up on Kensington homeless, living out there?
We weren't homeless, no. So this apartment that it was pretty cheap. This apartment that my friend had, you know, that we were living in, it was disgusting. It was disgusting. Like I can't even like begin to, like, it was dirty, it was old, like it was nasty. So we're, you know, doing it every day. But we're getting it, like, at first we're getting it out where we live in the suburbs. And we're both working at the bar, and we're making like really good money, like both of us, like really good money. He was a bar back first, but then he started bartending too, so like we were making like really good money together. So then I guess the dude he was getting it from got locked up, and the only place we knew was Kensington. So we were like, okay, we'll go to Kensington and get it. That was a whole nother thing. Meanwhile, we go to Kensington and find out it's half the price. It's $5 a bag instead of 10.
And damn, they make it so cheap.
So cheap.
Compared and it's paying $30 bags in a bundle. I was paying $30 for a Roxy. Me and my husband, we would have to get.
I was paying $35. Yep, $35. Wow. And then these bags of fentanyl. There's no more. So we in home, it was like heroin and fentanyl. In Kensington, it was fentanyl, and that was it. And, you know, so we didn't even have to do as much. It was so much cheaper. So we're going down to Kensington every single day at this point, like, or every couple days, like grabbing for a couple days because we didn't have to do as much. And it was so cheap, and we were making all this money. And just the fact that we like held up these jobs and made all this money, like for like throughout basically all of our addiction. He ended up getting fired like way later, right before I got clean the first time. But like we were able to support the habit. I couldn't pay my electric bill, I couldn't pay anything, but I could pay the $850 rent and buy enough dope for us for the week. And I was doing, at the worst, I was doing like a bundle a day. He was probably doing 2, but still it was like, it's $80 a bundle there. So it's cheap. Like, and if you're making all this money working, like, it was just like, we were able to support it. Yeah. But just being down Kensington, like, so we would go there every day, or like every other day. It depended. Like, sometimes this shit would suck and we would have to go back, you know? So that's kind of like, that was like, just like nothing I could ever even imagine, just like being down there. Literally, it's so like
depressing. Just seeing the videos of it, it makes me so sad. It feels like there's this like black cloud over it, like just a black, ominous cloud of like depression.
You know? That's how it looks in those videos, and it really looks horrible. But like, and it's horrible. It's an awful place, but like, you can get really caught up in that life. Like, we didn't live down there, so we were like going back and forth, just like driving down there, whatever, going back and forth. And we would go down there in the day, and in the summer, like, that shit, it's like a lifestyle. Like, it's like popping down there. You got people blasting rap music through the whole area. Everyone's hanging out on the sidewalk, just shooting up, getting high, smoking, whatever, everything. Like, and we're just all chilling. There's a park. Everybody's chilling on the benches. There's a bunch of steps. Everybody's chilling on the steps. Like, people are giving you food and water and like Narcan and all this shit. It's like a fucking like event for like drug addicts. Like, it's crazy in the summer there. It's like, it's a sea of people.
It's like a little city.
Just go,
and it's like it's a little city and people can just hang out.
Yep.
And like, but that's why I want you guys to understand, like, in Arkansas, it's so different. Like, there's no way that would ever happen. They would arrest every single person on the side of the road. They would get you would get tickets written for listening to your music too loud. Like, there's no way in hell. Like,
yeah.
I barely see homeless people on the side of the road downtown Little Rock. Like, there's maybe like a couple little groups of people, but nothing compared to. That's why it's so hard for me to even imagine that, because I've never seen anything like it ever.
It's insane. It's like a sea of tents, a sea of people. People got rigs hanging out of their necks, like, you know, and the cops just sit on the corner, and you could be sitting on the other side of the street shooting up, and they would just be standing there. If it's not like the day that they are going around picking everybody up, they're just chilling.
What about people overdosing and stuff? What do they do then? They don't care.
Mean, everybody has Narcan down there, basically. So most people like revive their friends and like just random people. Like, I know, like, because they hand it out like so much. People are handing out like tubes of it all day, every day. But if somebody ODs, like, they'll call the cops, and, you know, or the ambulance will come. They'll Narcan them. The person will jump up, you know, and that's basically it. Like, they just, you know, they walk away. Like, they don't really do anything. Like, some of them might take their shit out of their pocket if they have it, but not before somebody else on the street did it first, before the cops got there when they were OD'd. That's how fucked up it is. Somebody literally OD'd on the ground. Somebody will be running their pockets, getting their dope and their money, and running away.
Why don't they have people out there that, like, are peers that are out there trying to talk to people and ask them, do you want to help? Do you want help? Do you want to get sober? You know what I'm saying? Like, is there?
Yeah, they do have they have a needle exchange that does do like some help. They have like a rehab down. They have a hospital down there that like does do detox if you go to it and stuff. But like, most people down there, they don't want to. Like, I was friends with people who lived down there. They were content. Like, we would go down there, see the same people. They would just be completely content. They had whatever their little hustles were. This one kid, like, used to, you know, go to a couple neighborhoods over and just take all the change out the car. Because to get a bag, you only need $5.
$5.
You can hold the door at the Wawa, like, whatever. Like, people are, like, literally just, like, they have their little hustles out there, and they just got to get, sometimes a lot of them trap for the dealers, because they love when the addicts do it, because they're the ones who are going to get locked up, and the dealers don't even have to be outside. Some of them are like, but they're not. Like, there's so many different levels. Like, the people on the block, like, are just like kids. Like, they'll be like, I've seen an 8-year-old serving people out there, 10-year-old serving people, just like literally, like, you give him the money and he'll give you the dope. Like, kids, it's crazy.
Wow, that makes me so sad. So,
yeah.
Did you ever get stuck down there, or were you always able to leave and go back home?
One time I ran out of gas down there, and I had like no money, but I ended up getting like $2.50, and we ended up having to walk so far because, you know, like, we used to park far away because we were always paranoid, because like, the cops don't really get people down there, but they like to get people leaving. Like, they see like they see me and my boyfriend driving out of Kensington, they're like, oh, they're drug addicts, like, let's try to pull them over. So we always parked really far, and you know, we ended up getting a little bit of gas, putting it back in the car. Some dude gave us a ride back. Shockingly, it was like it was really nice. Actually, he was like this old man who like did Uber on the side, but he like wasn't doing it. And but that I never was like stuck down there overnight. No, nothing like that. But
Thank
just the
God.
shit that I've seen down there from like just being down there, like because sometimes we would go at night, like you know, like at like 9-10 o'clock at night, because the stuff does close. Like they stop all the good blocks. Like some people in here will say like, oh, you can just go to another block, like all this stuff like that, when like not all blocks are equal. Like
I know
there's
what you
only a
mean.
few that have
Like
like
one dealer
the
has
good
like really
shit.
good stuff, and the other guy has shitty stuff, and like
Right. And then with the horse tranquilizer, the xylazine that they started putting in there, then that's when everything got super fucked up. And that's when my life as like a kind of functioning heroin addict was done. Like that shit was, I remember when it happened, there was this one stamp from this one block, because they had multiple stamps, but they had one stamp. And I remember like my boyfriend got it because people said it was good.
a stamp is like an ink stamp that they put on the package. That's how you tell which kind it was, right?
Yeah, they all have different names, like just like and you know, like if people are like, oh, like whatever, like this one is good today, and then you go, you're like, where's this one? They'll say the block, and then you go up to them, you're like, can I have? And you say whatever the name of it is, like,
okay,
you know, whatever. But yeah, so basically there was this one kind of dope, this one stamp that people were like, holy shit, like this shit is the strongest shit ever. And I remember my boyfriend did it, and he didn't like it. He like would do the littlest bit, and he would mix it in with like other dope. And he was like, you can't do this bag. He was like, you're like this stamp, like no, you're not doing it. Like you're gonna OD, like absolutely not. So I just never do it at this point. But then, you know, he starts to get like this tolerance to this trank, this xylazine, and you know, and then every block not every block, but most blocks start putting like some of it in there. It starts to be like the popular thing, like all like the popular blocks are using it. But there's that one old block, that same one is like the one that's like probably spraying the shit out of it, because apparently they spray it, it's a liquid, they spray it on the fentanyl, put it in the microwave, and then it's in with the dope, and it's still a powder. So basically then he starts, you know, the dope we start getting ends up being this trank dope, because that like everything else, my boyfriend was always the one who would try it. Like if it was the first one, he'd be like, I'll try it. Like you're not trying, like I'll try it. Like I have a higher tolerance than you, like, and he would try a little bit, like, and then my ass was like always freaking like, I'm sick, give me the whole bag, like, you know, because that's how I am. I was always like over the top. So yeah, so then he ends up just getting this trank dope, because that's the only thing that's doing anything to him at this point, because he's addicted to it, because he's been using this stamp. Then, you know, I get addicted to it. I'm getting rocked. This is when we both start falling asleep at work behind the bar. Like we're standing up, falling asleep into the computer. Like just stuff's getting really bad.
What
like
is your boss saying? What did your boss say? I know they're noticing now, huh?
So I don't even know what happened. I still have my job right now. Like it's crazy. So I've worked there for 5 years. At this point I had worked there for, you know, like three something, almost 4. And I was their bar manager and like their head bartender. So I am like, you know, I'm doing all the ordering. They fired their manager, so I'm literally the only one with like any authority there besides the owners. And you know, I'm falling asleep, and other coworkers who are my friends, who, so I thought, but you know, are out here like snitching on me, right? Telling my boss. And my boss literally is so like the one, he has no idea. He was like, my friend was telling me this the other day, who I worked with. She was like, yeah, like they were asking me, because she's in recovery, but she had been in recovery for so long, like since like she's been in recovery for years and years. So they were asking her, because one of the other people who worked there told him that I was getting high and I was falling asleep, and that he was like, I thought she was just tired. Like he really is like the sweetest dude. Like he really was like, and then, you know, so they end up drug testing my boyfriend. We kept the job after like it got really bad for like a few months. So they end up drug testing my boyfriend because he's worse than me. He's in the bathroom for like 20 minutes because he's shooting it and I'm snorting it. So I'm kind of quick. Like I'm going to the bathroom and they're like noticing that I'm in there, but I'm out right away. And I'm like, I'm good, guys. Like whatever. Like I'm just going to the bathroom. Like, so they drug test my boyfriend and they fire him, but they still like didn't know like what to do with me, like because like, you know, the owner was like really upset. Like my friend was telling me that he was saying like, I just want to help her, like I don't want her to not work here anymore, like I just want to help her. And you know, so, and I have no idea this is going on, mind you. I think that I'm just like, you know, like
you
working,
think you're doing a great job.
nobody knows.
Yeah I know what you mean.
I literally have no idea that anybody knows I'm high besides my one friend that's in recovery. Like nobody knows. I'm like, oh, I'm good. Like nobody thinks that about me, like whatever. So then, you know, all of this is like, you know, like going on. And then this is when I end up getting clean myself because I have like a mental breakdown literally, which is like, I'm like jumping around, but like, I literally just like, I'm having panic attacks every day. I don't even know how to explain it, but like the way that I felt like after that, like when I was so bad on it, I was having to get high every 2 hours. Like this horse tranquilizer would make me like not able to do anything. Like I couldn't go, like if me and my boyfriend would make plans to like go do something, we wouldn't make it out of the house. Like that's how like this shit would like knock you out immediately. That's all the people that are standing up, hanging, like leaning over on the street in Kensington, like in the middle of the street, cars honking, and they're not moving, but they're standing up, but just like hanging over. That's the xylazine. That's that shit. And they put it in the fent, which is crazy, and that's why so many people are dying. Like it's like this horrible mix. Yeah, and it just fucked with my head and I lost my shit. I was crying every single day. I was having these panic attacks. I was literally like losing my mind. I could barely go to work. I would cry the entire way walking to work. I'd be like hyperventilating and I didn't know why, but I was just so scared. I really felt like every time I used, I was like this is the time where I die. And I never OD'd because I mean, my boyfriend really looked out for me. Oh, because I didn't even mention I snorted it the whole time because he was an IV user, but you know, I snorted it.
Hey. You cover the microphone.
Oh shit.
There you go.
Sorry. Basically, but yeah, so then when I got really bad in my addiction, I wanted to shoot up too because, you know, like I was like, oh, it'll hit me harder. I won't have to do as much, like all this stuff. And my boyfriend like wouldn't let me. He said that about doing dope in the beginning, but this time like he was literally like, I remember mixing up a shot and then not knowing what to do with it and him leaving the house with all the fucking dope and was like, I swear to God, you'll never see me again if you do that, like you're not doing it. So I luckily had never OD'd in my addiction, and neither had he. But he was very like careful, like all the harm reduction things, like trying a little bit, like not being alone, like all that stuff. And I never ended up shooting it. And I think that really did like save my life because there's been times when I have been like definitely like close to the fine line, like where I just woke up and I had no idea what the fuck happened.
Oh, you would have definitely been dead. You would have died if you had started shooting it. I don't know what it is about women, but sometimes once I started shooting up everything, I was just out of fucking control. Like my husband, we used together. He couldn't stop me. I was going behind his back, getting the dope, getting it faster than he could, so I could mix up my own shot with the most in it. Like I was like, it was so bad.
That's how I was. I'm like, just let me do it. Let me pour out the line. And he's like, no. And I'm like, we have fought because he's nodded out before he poured out my line, and I'm like, literally attacking it. Like I was crazy. The person that I was like literally insane. It was just like, I don't even know, like it was crazy. And I just hated the person that I was crying every day, having these like hyperventilating panic attacks because every time I used, I felt like I was going to die. So I would have a panic attack when I was sick, and then I would have a panic attack right before I was about to use because I was scared I was going to die. And then I would calm down for a second and then back in the cycle. And I just was like, I have to get clean. But at this point, I thought that I was going to lose my job if I left and went to rehab because I thought nobody knew.
Yeah.
So that's when I was like, I have to find a sub doctor because I can't go to rehab. And that's basically, then I ended up, that's what I did. And that's how I got clean.
So you got on Suboxone,
Yep.
and was it hard to get on it? I know you said it was hard to
Yeah.
find a doctor, but once you got your doctor, like, did they induct you, or did you do it on your own, or what happened?
So basically, my mom had been sober for a while at this point. So she had gotten sober, right? Like, even she would like relapse like once a year for like a week maybe, and then get back sober like every once in a while. But like she was like predominantly sober. Like she's sober now, like all this stuff. So, but she still went to see a psychiatrist who specialized in addiction. And I had been calling these sub doctors, but I didn't want my parents to know. Like, they knew that I messed with pills, but they didn't know that I was doing fentanyl. Like,
Yeah.
I avoided my family at all costs. Like, I would dodge their phone calls. I would barely see them. I would see them on the holidays, and I would just be so careful. I would have to get high. On one Christmas, I fell asleep with my face in my food, but I was sitting like, our table was small, so we didn't have enough seats. So I was sitting like back behind my mom and dad, and they didn't see me. Like, I like shot right up, and I was like, oh my God, like, and they didn't see me. Like, I really did hide it. And but they knew I like messed with pills because I'd said it. But I was like, not every day, like anything like that. But I asked my mom, I tell her that I'm having these panic attacks and like I want to see her doctor, because I didn't know, like, he wasn't on the list. So I was like on that like SAMHSA website calling every single provider in my area, and nobody was answering the phone, let alone one person answered the phone and then they said, oh, we're full, sorry. Like,
That's crazy to
nobody
me because
would even talk to me.
I answer the phone for Dr. B's Mac Clinic, and I answer the
Mm-hmm.
phone morning, noon, and night, and on the weekends. So if addicts
That's
are calling on
crazy.
the weekend, I'm answering on Saturdays and Sundays, and I'm saying, okay, yeah, we'll get you in on Tuesday. See you then. You know what I mean, or
That's
Monday.
awesome.
So I
Yeah,
can't believe they're losing. They could be helping so many people if they would just have somebody that would answer the phones.
for real. Nobody would answer. One person said we're full. One person asked me like what was going on, if I was like on Suboxone, or if I was like, what was going on, and I was like, I'm a heroin addict, and they were like, oh yeah, like we don't do that, like, like they did not, like, a lot of them weren't like, a lot of them were like regular doctors who just like, I don't know, like some of them were like at urgent cares, like some of them were at rehabs, like they weren't like I don't know, like that list, if it's not accurate, because now like talking to people now like on here and stuff, I hear of like a lot more doctors, like because people tell me in places they go, clinics. I only had that list because I didn't know where else to look. I had no idea, and I was looking at that list and nobody was answering me. So I go to see my mom's psychiatrist because I have this idea that maybe he'll know somebody who can prescribe it. And I go and I see him, and I tell him everything. I'm like, I'm a drug addict. Like, I need to get clean. Like, this is really bad. My mom, nobody knows. Like, my mom doesn't know. Like, people in my life at that point knew, but my parents don't know. Like, anything like that. Like, I need help. And he's like, I'll prescribe it to you. And I'm like, what? And he's like, yeah, I'll prescribe it to you. And I was like, you weren't even on the list, like whatever. But he could prescribe it. So then we like set up a time, and he was like, I'll prescribe it to you, but you have to detox. And he's like, but you can't do it, like, you're gonna have to tell your parents, because you can't do it by yourself. Like, you need somebody to like monitor you, like you
Yeah.
can't do it by yourself, and you can't do it at your house with your boyfriend, because that's not gonna happen. Like, because he was like, you have to like be alone with your parents, and like you have to do it because you'll go get high, like you have to be by yourself, all this stuff. So I'm like, okay. And the first time I chicken out completely. I go to his office and I'm like, I don't know really like anything. So I'm like, yeah, I stopped using, like I'm sick, like, and he knows that I'm not fucking sick, like, and he's like, yeah, I don't think this is a good week, like I really don't think you stopped using that long ago, like whatever. I'm like, I haven't used the whole day. And he's like, yeah, okay, well maybe not this week. He's like, no, like I have to see you again in the morning, and you have to be like really in withdrawal. And I'm like, because I knew that I was not. So I chickened out basically, and then I waited another 2 weeks, and I end up calling my mom, and I'm like, and I see him, he's like, okay, I'll prescribe you these comfort meds, whatever, but you have to do it. So I call my mom, and I'm like, can I come over? And she's like, sure. She comes and picks me up from my apartment, and I'm like, listen, like I have to tell you something, like I am, and I tell them that I'm addicted to 30s. And I'm like, and I need to get clean, and I'm going to be on Suboxone, and your doctor is prescribing it to me, and comfort meds, and I just have to detox, and you just have to help me. And my mom's like, okay, like, oh my God, but like, yeah. But I told them it was 30s. What fucking happened that night? I could have never imagined, like, in my like head of what it could have been like. It was 50 million times worse. So I went through it like bad through that night. I ended up in the emergency room. They wouldn't do anything for me. I was like convulsing. I was sweating through my clothes like 30 times. Like my dad had to go to Walmart and buy me more clothes because they were throwing my clothes in the dryer, and it was horrible. And I'm under this impression that because these comfort meds, I don't think he gave me enough comfort meds because I was his only Suboxone patient. I think that he was like scared to give me a higher dose because I like wasn't under like his supervision, and I kept throwing them up, which is why a lot of people I feel like get like shots, like their meds as shots, but I was throwing them up. So like I really wasn't, they weren't doing anything for me too much, but I was like, okay, I'm gonna go get high because I have to wait a whole nother day because I'm under this impression from the rehabs that I have to wait 48 to 72 hours, and I'm like, nope, this isn't happening. I'm going to rehab. Like, I'm gonna go get high. And my mom's like, just wait 2 more hours because it's like 6 a.m. at this point. I had been to the emergency room. Like, they were carrying me. I couldn't move. Like, it was horrible. And so she convinces me somehow to go to his office, and he's like, yeah, you're in full withdrawal. Like, you can take the sub. And I'm so scared because I see my boyfriend in precipitated withdrawal, and I'm like, no, like, I'm not doing it. And then he tells me about taking it in little pieces, and I'm like, I don't think he did that to my boyfriend. And I'm literally throwing up in his trash can. Like, it's bad. He's like, how could you possibly get worse than you are right now? And I'm like, you're right. Because I had never been through anything like that before. Like anything. Because not only was I withdrawing off the fentanyl, I was withdrawing off the xylazine too.
Right.
And yeah, so then he convinces me, and I take a little piece of the sub, and I'm like prepared to get 50 million times worse, but I felt a little bit better. Like, I'd stop throwing up every 10 minutes. It was like every hour, like, and then he was like, you can take it every few hours, take another little piece. And I did that for the rest of the day. The next day, I think I only threw up like twice. Like, I was really getting better. And then I could take my whole dose, and I got on the subs, and I was still sick for about a week after getting on them. I think a lot of it too was like the xylazine, because it's not an opiate. So the subs were probably helping the fentanyl, but I was still withdrawing from the xylazine. But I also had clonidine to help with that, because I guess I read somewhere they're like the same I didn't even really realize that like what it was, but it like after the fact I read that it was like similar to clonidine, like the chemical makeup or something. So I'm like, that probably helped with that, because I wasn't like unbearable. Like I still stayed home. I couldn't go to work. I called out for a week. I said I was sick. They knew I wasn't sick, and I thought that I was like getting away with it. But yeah, and then I end up on the subs, and then that's how I got clean on. And then a week went by. I went back to work on a Friday, and I was on my subs, and I was just like, I was clean, and I was like, holy shit, like that really worked. One day out of my life to get the rest of my life like clean. Like, it was crazy. Like, I really didn't think it would work, but like that saved my life. If I didn't do that night, I think I took it in 22 hours. I don't even think it was 24, the sub. And he really like, that was 22 hours out of the rest of my life, and then I got clean. Like, it was crazy. Like, it was hard, but it was so worth it. Like,
Did she freeze up again? Are you there, girl? Are you there? Hold on. She'll come back. Yes, Tiffany, that's how we induct our patients, is 2 milligrams at a time. So once you score a 14 or higher on the clinical opiate withdrawal scale, then we tell you to take 2 milligrams. Wait 45 minutes, take another 2 milligrams, and just go on and do that until you feel better. I'm going to ask her. Don't worry, Britt. I'm going to ask her if her boyfriend got sober and what's he doing. And then we'll also ask her what she does to stay sober every day. Like, what's her recovery routine? And then we'll ask her if she has any suggestions for people that are trying to get sober. She's a fast talker. Yeah, she's doing, it's when you're not used to speaking, like, and doing live streams a lot, you get nervous a little, you know what I mean? I'm a fast talker too, but I've been doing live streams for a really long time, and I know how I try to pace myself a little bit, you know what I mean? But, and also you got to think about it this way, y'all. When you haven't told your story and like all these things are coming into your mind and you want to share it all, and it's like you say, I know how she is. I've been there before, where you're trying to remember everything that you need to tell. I was like, you could see my eyes going, following. Catherine, did your phone die, girl? I see her in the comments. Let us know if your phone died. If her phone died, we'll have to do a part 2. Me and my boyfriends. Oh, okay. It won't let me invite you again. Okay. Okay, go live and I'll send an invite to you, okay? Me and my boyfriend, you guys, because we're almost done. I just want you to share with everybody what you do to stay sober. There we go. Hey.
I don't know what happens. I think that my phone storage is full, and like that's why I just deleted a couple apps because it keeps Xing me out.
Did your boyfriend get sober? What happened to him?
Okay, so I get sober. Meanwhile, this is March. I think it's March. I forget when it was because I did end up relapsing, but it was like March 11th or something of 2020, like COVID, like right before COVID. So I went back to work for 2 days, Friday and Saturday, or 3 days, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And then it was like the stay-at-home shutdown. And my boyfriend was planning on going to rehab, and I thought he was going to go like right after I knew that I got on the subs, because he was going to go to rehab. He didn't have like a job holding him back. Like, I thought that I couldn't go to rehab because of my job, which was stupid, but I don't know, it worked out. But he basically, then it was a stay-at-home order. Like, we couldn't even didn't even know like what was going on, like anything. Like, it was so weird. So a month went by, or like however long, it was like a month and a half where he was using and I was clean and I was on the subs. And then he did end up going to rehab. He did end up getting clean. And we were clean together for a few months. And then we ended up relapsing. I ended up relapsing and he ended up relapsing too. I wasn't like totally ready to like stay clean. Like I was like still living in like that apartment. Like I was just like kind of still unhappy. Like I was like just thinking, like I was hanging around people who still got high, like just that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I just like, so what happened was I had a friend who was shooting Suboxone. So that's what he was
Why
shooting.
do people do that?
I don't know. I really don't. I've never done it. I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, because doesn't the Narcan...
Unless you're opiate naive, then you wouldn't. I mean, I've shot Suboxone before and it didn't do shit. Like, I shot it back in 2010 when I got out of prison. And it was so thick and it was just like, it was horrible. I don't understand. Like, I guess you would have to be like completely opiate naive to get a high from it.
He said he had gotten clean and then he started shooting them after. Like, his tolerance had gone down.
Okay.
Like, that's all he did. He would shoot little pieces. But I was on 20 milligrams every single day. And I'm like thinking about my friend who shoots them, and I'm like living in this like apartment, and I'm hearing about all my friends who are like still getting high, and I'm like, I'm gonna snort a sub and I'm gonna try to abuse it. I dissolved that whole 8 milligram strip in water. I snorted it. I have never felt pain like that in my entire life. Like, I literally felt like my brain was on fire. It was,
Lord help me, Jesus.
I know. My boyfriend was like, that's so stupid. It's not going to do anything to you. You're on 20 milligrams. What's it going to do to snort
You've
8?
been on it. Like, it's not going to do anything.
It didn't, besides burn the shit out of the inside of my nose and my head. Like, I was on my bed crying, just holding my head. It was burning and it wouldn't stop. It would not stop. I started snorting water to try. It was horrible. But anyway, so then that kind of, I was like pissed. So I was really mad that it like didn't work. So that night I went out and got Klonopin and I started snorting them. And then I ended up, we went down to Kensington to get them, started doing those. And then my boyfriend so remember how I said that we got arrested when we first started dating in 2018? Well, he was on bail for over 2 years. So this is like, at this point, it's like September 2020, and he still has not been sentenced. Like, he had the one lawyer, they continued it 50 times, and that lawyer was not getting it done. So we got a whole new lawyer, like all this stuff. And, COVID happened, so it was pushed back for a while because in PA it was like shut down for a long time. And, so he ended up being on bail for all this time. So finally, they're like enough, like we have to, something has to happen. Like, you got to either go to trial or you got to, take like some type of plea or something. So basically they offered him a year, and 3 years of parole, or a year of parole, 2 years of probation. So he was like, I don't really want like because the case, it was like one of those, like, I'm not kidding, like, if I don't know if you guys follow like Mindy Scorpio on here and stuff, the stuff she talks about, it was one of those like ghost dope cases. There was no dope in our house when they raided the house. Like, it was just, anyway. But so he wasn't sure if he wanted to take the plea deal, anything like that. So his lawyer ends up saying, like, well, COVID's still going on, you're probably gonna have to go in like a month. So I freaked the fuck out, and I'm like hearing this 4 years of probation, and I'm terrified to get high alone because I'm so scared of dying, and that's why I ended up getting clean. Like, I really was so scared to get high alone. Like, I thought that I would definitely OD and nobody would be there to like Narcan me. So I'm thinking, like, oh my God, like, I'm never going to, once he goes to jail and he's on this parole, like, I'm never going to be able to get high again unless I do it alone. And I was like, and I'm not doing that. So I'm like, all right, like, I'm going to get high. Like, we're already doing this Xanax. I'm like, I just want dope. And, he comes with me. We both get high and we both relapse. But I am alternating it with my subs. So I think that I, like, have got this, got this down, that I'm like, okay, plan. I'm functioning.
Yeah.
So I think I'm going to work and I'm on my subs and nobody thinks anything, but then I'm like, I'm getting home, I'm doing dope. So it's like every other day, like whatever. So one day, of course, like in October, in like mid-October, it was like October, I think it was October 12th, October 13th, because I end up doing the dope way too far into the next day. Like, I was supposed to stop that night. I didn't stop till like the next evening. And then I had to wait longer to take my sub because I was waiting 2 days because, like, I was scared because, it was like I was doing it and I was taking a full strip, whatever. So then I get so sick. And I'm like, all right, I'm just going to go back out. And then in a month, when you go to jail, you'll get clean in jail. I'll go to rehab and, it's whatever. I don't care anymore. Like, I'm not going to put up with being sick. And he was like, just like, you already made it one day. Why don't you just stick it out through like just this night? I had like one night left, but I was really sick, like really, really sick. And, cause it had been like 3 days without my subs. So, I was like, I don't know. I don't want to. And he's like, I don't know. There's no dope left. Like, but we got all these Xanax, like, just take them and just try to get through till the morning. And I'm like, okay, like, he had dope because he wasn't on subs, so he was whatever. But and he was getting high again, but I was alternating because I wanted to stay on my subs because I didn't want to have to go through that again. So something tells me to get through the night, and I'm like taking a bunch of Xanax, and I somehow make it through the night, right? And I take my sub the next morning, but I'm like, okay, I'm never doing that again. I'm not going to be able to stop getting high, so I am just going to go back out, get high, and I'll go in a month when you go to rehab. Not even an hour later, his lawyer calls him and is like, you need to come to the courthouse right now. And we're like, okay. And he's like, why? And he was like, because I told them that like we were continuing it and they're like not having it. So we go, and then his lawyer's like, listen, she said that like if you don't take the year, then she's taking it off. Like it's the deal is not on the table anymore. He's like, you really should take it. And we're just like sitting there, and they're getting mad. They're like, are you going to take it or not take it? So my boyfriend goes up there, like, and it just asks, he's like, I want to take this deal. I thought it was going to be in a month. I have to go to rehab because I'm a drug addict and I don't want to go to jail, you know, before going to rehab. And they were like, well, you just violated your bail, so you're going to jail. So he, you know, he took the deal and he went to jail, and that was October 14th, I think, and that was my first day, or no, October 15th, because the day before I had stopped to take my sub. So that's my new sober date, October 14th, because October 14th. So then October 15th, he went to jail. So his is October 16th. So we're both clean now, but that was like just some like miracle moment, because I don't know why I would get through the night to not get, like, when I was just going to go back out. And I really was. I was like, I'm going to go back out. Like, I really am. I'll go in a month. I don't want to sit here a month and not do it anymore.
So he's in jail still. He's in jail still.
Yeah, I just visited him.
Is he going to come out and stay sober? What if he?
He is. No.
What if he doesn't though, Catherine? What if he gets out and he is acting like a fool?
Then he's going back to jail because he's on parole.
You got to be careful. When he comes out, you got to be careful. I hope that you're going to NA, right?
Yeah, so I just visited him. I went to NA, and now I'm in the car.
Do you have a sponsor in NA?
Yeah, I do.
Good. Okay, good. Okay. That way you have somebody to talk to, and that can help, because when he gets out, you know, who knows, he might get out and then have like a wild hair up his ass and start making mistakes, and you don't want to get caught up with that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. I know, like, I don't know. I just feel like he's like he has like a plan, like for like he really does have a plan of like how he's gonna, you know, be in recovery. Like he doesn't want to be on maintenance, but like he, you know, wants to go to meetings. You know, he knows that he can't drink, like can't do anything. Cause you know, at first we thought, oh, like he thought he would still drink. I kind of knew I couldn't drink because of how I'd been in the past, but you know, now he's really convinced, and you know how shit is in jail. So like sometimes, so he has like, you know, he's 9 months clean, just you know. So I don't know. So he is like, you know, doing good. So it can be hard in there too. So
yeah. There's a lot of dope in jail, especially in the guys' prisons. So that's good though. That makes me feel good that at least he has a plan that he wants to stay sober. Will he just move in with you? Do you guys still have the apartment?
No, that apartment is literally, it was too far gone. It had holes in the wall. It was literally disgusting. Like it was nasty. It was like a trash can.
I know what you mean. I've lived in places where the roaches had roaches. Like it was just disgusting. Yeah. So I understand. Tell me this. Okay, so I don't want to keep you on here any more longer, but if you could tell somebody that's watching this video right now that's struggling with addiction, if you could give them some suggestions, what would you say to them?
I mean, I would say just consider all of the options and just find out like what's right for you, because I know that like a lot of people, at least with me, like they have something to say about how I recover on maintenance and all that stuff. Like a lot of people tell me every single day how I'm not clean, I'm high because I take subs, like all this stuff. But just don't care what other people think and just do what's best for you. That's going to be the most successful for you to be in recovery. Because like, honestly, if I was in active addiction and somebody told me, it's usually like the other way around. People kind of shame people about being on maintenance. Like they're like, oh, you don't want to be on that. The withdrawals worse, all this stuff. If you had only given me the option of going to a 30-day inpatient rehab, I wouldn't have gotten clean. It didn't work for me. Like, it was just not, I was not going to get clean. I was like, I'm not going to leave for a month just because of like my job. And that's not the best reason, but that's just being real. Like, that was my reason. And I just, like, maintenance was like the only option that like I thought would work for me. And it was the only one that did. Like, so I just feel like anybody like who, don't let anybody else tell you what, just because it worked for them. Do what you think is right for you, and just look into all the options. There's so many options. It's not just maintenance or abstinence like some people, like there's so many different options.
Yeah, I had been in and out of treatment through abstinence-based programs, like 6 or 7 rehabs, and was never given the option to get on Suboxone. I wasn't given the option to get on Suboxone until 2015 when I actually got on it. And so, if I had given that option,
you got on it?
Huh?
So you were clean and then you got on it?
Yeah.
Or is that when you? Oh, okay,
I was sober for 30 days and then got on Suboxone. Like, it was never an option. It wasn't even suggested to me when I was going through withdrawal. Like, that's how it is down here. I don't know if it's any better now, but back whenever I was trying to get sober, it's still, MAT treatment still was looked down upon. In Arkansas, it's like they're still trying to fight with people here in Arkansas to make it more readily available and acceptable,
Yeah.
I tell people the same thing. Like, Suboxone saved my life. If I hadn't got on Suboxone, I wouldn't be here today. And if anybody has some shit to say about that, they can eat a dick. Because it literally saved my life. I have my son back because of Suboxone. Like, I tried everything. I did try everything. I've been to 6 rehabs. I've been to prison. I have been in and out of AA and NA. Like, I tried everything. When people try to shame others because of the way they recover and it's different, normally it's because they're insecure and they feel like we're getting over on them. They feel like we didn't go through withdrawal. They feel like we're somehow cutting corners. When in all actuality, like, if you got on Suboxone, you had to go through withdrawal to get on Suboxone. And so it's not like, I don't know why opiate addicts or addicts like this are like this in general, but there's no rite of passage. Like, fucking withdrawal sucks, period. And if you don't have to go through all that pain and agony and there's an easier way to get to where you're going, why wouldn't you take it? Like, I had to fight myself on that.
Because I think that they have like this conception that we're getting high, because that's all they like to say is you're high. You can't not be getting high, when they don't really know how it works, that when you already have it on the receptor, it's like, I don't know the exact science of it, but that if you already have an opiate tolerance and then it goes on, it's like only partially on the receptors, like something like that. So I think that they just want to say, oh, you're getting high, and they're like jealous, like, oh, they're saying they're clean but they're getting high, like thinking that they work harder or something, when that's literally not
and that's the thing, is they don't work harder. If anything, we added an extra step. We have to work harder, because if we ever want to get off, we have to taper off. So we added an extra step to our recovery. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I hope that I feel like people are becoming more open-minded now, though, because of how serious the opioid epidemic has gotten. And I've noticed it's a lot better than it used to be. When I first started sharing my story, I used to get a lot of hate. And I'll tell you this, here on TikTok, people are so accepting of all pathways here. Whenever I first started sharing about Suboxone back in 2015, 2016, people would make fun of me, dude. There was no fucking medical marijuana company. There was no Kratom group of people. And here on TikTok, there's groups of people for every kind of recovery, psychedelics, everything.
Seriously. Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, people need to look at all the options, because there's literally so many now. It's not just like black and white, maintenance or not. There's literally so many different forms.
I really appreciate you coming on here, though. I am so.
Well, thank
We were all
you.
listening to you tell your story, and then the thing would go out, and we're all like, "We need to know what happened."
I
next.
know. I was nervous. I was like definitely rambling because I was.
No, you
freaking
did
nervous,
great.
but-
You did great. It's hard whenever you're like getting like when you now you have practice. So next time you tell your story, it'll every
True.
time I tell my story, it's more refined each time, and it's like
Yeah.
now it's like a science. Like I can tell it, and I stay on course. But when I first started telling my story, I would go from one subject to the next to the next to the next. So you did amazing.
Thank you.
I do want to have you back on though when you hit your 1 year sober, because that's coming up, isn't it?
Yeah. October 14th.
Yeah. Okay. So will you DM me when you hit your 1 year? I'll see you probably make a video about it. So that way we can have you on and you can tell us about your 1 year.
Yeah, definitely. I would love that. Thank you.
Okay. Text me later now that you have my phone number, okay? I appreciate you. Thank you so much. I'm going to put this video on YouTube, okay?
Okay. Cool. Thank you.
All right. Bye, girl.
Bye. Bye.
Hey, what y'all think about that? Okay, so we are just popping these interviews out today. So you guys, if y'all didn't know, yesterday we had Kenna on. Kenna just celebrated 2 weeks sober. Catherine, I think, is about to, she got 8 months sober now, 9 months sober. And so if any of you guys are out there and you're like, I can't tell my story, I've only been sober for X amount of time. You can tell your story. I don't care if you've been sober for 1 week or 25 years. Like, I want everyone to have a chance to share their experience, what it was like for them, how they got sober, what they're doing now. I think it's really important for everybody to have a chance to share. You know, I used to be told that I couldn't share until I had a year sober and that I didn't have anything to share and blah, blah, blah. And that kind of discouraged me when I was in early recovery. So I want you guys to know that if you want to share your story, all you have to do is DM me and we will pick a day to have you on and you'll come on, you know? So I really, it is getting sober is cool. Yes, Renee. It's sober is the way to go now. So y'all see my old ass over here. I'm tired. I'm gonna go lay down. I just want y'all to understand, like, it's really discouraging when I try so hard to help people and have a platform for people to share their stories, and then people are like sending me comments and stuff saying that I'm glorifying addiction. That pissed me off. If y'all go back and see the couple of videos I uploaded on my TikTok, you'll see what I'm talking about. My intentions here are to help people, and I'm sorry if I share things that are like so brutally honest that it makes people uncomfortable. I'm never trying to make anyone feel uneasy or uncomfortable. I'm just sharing the truth, you know? And I think it's really important to do that. So I love you guys. Please go follow Catherine. She's amazing. And we'll have her back on at her 1 year, and I'll see y'all tomorrow night.